there was once a small village where a wise old blacksmith named Kofi lived. His forge was known across the land, not just for the tools and trinkets he crafted but for the stories he shared with those who visited. One day, a young man named Teo came to him, frustrated and dejected. "Master Kofi," Teo began, "it seems no matter how hard I try, I remain behind others. My father always told me, all fingers are not equal. Maybe I was just born to be the smallest finger, insignificant and weak." Kofi smiled and gestured for Teo to sit by the fire. He held up his hand and said, "Do you see these fingers? Each one is different in size and shape, yet they work together to hold my hammer, to create something from nothing. Would you say the thumb is more important than the pinky?" Teo shook his head but remained silent. "Let me tell you a story," Kofi continued. "Years ago, in this same village, there were two brothers, Ade and Kola. They were born into poverty, their parents struggling just to feed them. Ade, the elder, often lamented their misfortune. It's unfair, he'd say. Some people are born into wealth while we scrape by. All fingers are not equal, and we are the smallest ones. Kola, the younger brother, had a different view. Perhaps, he said, but even the smallest finger can grip if it chooses to. While Ade spent his days complaining and comparing himself to others, Kola took every opportunity to learn. He worked odd jobs, saved every coin, and practiced his skills as a carpenter. Years passed, and Kola's efforts began to bear fruit. He became the most sought-after carpenter in the region, building homes and furniture that were admired far and wide. Ade, however, remained in the same place, his bitterness growing as he watched his brother's success. One day, a wealthy merchant asked Kola to build a grand estate. As Kola worked, Ade approached him. "How did you do it?" he asked. "Weren't we born into the same poverty? Didn't we start with the same disadvantages?" Kola smiled and said, "We were born with the same hands, but we used them differently. You saw the unevenness of the fingers as a curse, while I saw it as a design. Each finger has its purpose, just as each of us has our strengths. The question isn't whether the fingers are equal, but how they can work together." Master Kofi turned to Teo and said, "The idea that all fingers are not equal is not meant to limit you. It is a reminder that every person has a unique role to play in their journey. What matters is not where you start but how you choose to use what you have." Teo pondered this, the weight of his frustration lifting slightly. "So you're saying I've been focusing too much on what I lack, instead of what I can do with what I have?" Kofi nodded. "Exactly. Many great men and women have risen from nothing. Hardship sharpens us, like the hammer shapes the metal. But if you sit idle, complaining about the heat, you'll never become a blade." From that day forward, Teo resolved to stop comparing himself to others and to focus on improving himself. He worked hard, learned new skills, and slowly began to see progress. And when he looked at his hands, he no longer saw unequal fingers but a team, each part contributing to the whole. Peace.